Check. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Assalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh la nabiyya ba'dah. Well, welcome back to the second day of International Conference on Social and Islamic Studies of Universitas Islam Negeri Alauddin Makassar 2022. All right, first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much to the speakers for the second day, Mr. Datuk Professor Dr. Mahmud Khalid Al-Musafir. Well, and lucky us because he is with us right now. And sir, this kind of international conference we hold both offline and online. All right, the second, I'd like to say thank you so much for the committee and also the participants and the speakers in the parallel session. All right. Before I let the speaker present his presentation about world economy.
Recording in progress.
Before and after pandemic, are we facing globalization or deglobalization? Deglobalization. All right, before I let him, I'll read his brief curriculum vitae. And this morning, not this morning, several days ago, I got his CP, and there are around 31 pages. Yeah, there are so many achievements, including he is the former ambassador of Republic of Iraq in Malaysia in 2013 until 2000, from 2003 until 2006, 3 years. And also, he ever became directors of some university, including in Terengganu and in Qatar. And there are so many achievements, including publication during last 5 years. There are around 30 publication, yeah, and many others. All right. I don't want to talk too much because we want to listen to his presentation. And as we know, actually today we are having 2 speakers for the second day. The second is Prof. Joe Aguirre from Warwick University, England, but unfortunately he is in an activity. He's traveling right now, so that's why we couldn't present him. That's why we could extend the time, sir. So I don't want to limit Mr. Mahmood's time, yeah, because we could take and extend the time for Prof. Joe. All right, and yeah, but Prof, yes. Oh yeah. All right. Well, so he will pitch on the stage, and after that he will be back on the chair. All right. Okay, and yeah, I continue the what we call it, the curriculum vitae just now. And right now he is the Professor Mahmood Khalid. Right now he is a chairman of Design and Research Renaissance. Yeah. All right, well, really I'm giving the time to Mr. Mahmood, Prof. Mahmood. Okay, sir, please. No, this one. This one. Yeah.
Can we have the presentation, please? Then okay. Hello.
كان بيدا يراك تنجي
They are preparing that? Okay, let me introduce myself before they prepare while they are preparing the PowerPoint. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين. How are you doing, guys? Fantastic. Okay, since 2 days I'm in, last day and today I'm in Makassar, I saw few people speaking English. That's good to see some of you now speaking English today. English and Arabic. Well, I can tell you something about myself, very briefly. Of course, if I'm the one who received the 31 pages of CV, like our Dr. Nasrom, when he received it from me, I would never read it, because I will read only the first page. I take the name from the first page and I go to Google. In Google, you will see the right thing. But what I'm writing on myself, about myself, maybe it is not the right thing. So that's why I'm urging everybody, encouraging you guys, Later, take the name of Mahmoud Khalid Al-Musafir and go to search it in Arabic and English. You will find bad things, just don't mention it to your friends. Mention only the good things. I like to be in Indonesia. I like to meet good people, sincere people, honest people, like you guys. I met in my life few Indonesians in Egypt when I was deputy ambassador there. And I, of course, met a lot of Indonesians in Malaysia. I didn't know the right Malaysians only when I came here. The right Indonesians only when I came here, guys. I saw the purity of Indonesia here in Indonesia. Thank you very much for everybody. Thanks goes first to my dear friend Dr. Sabbar, who is the reason why I'm here today. Thank you very much for this university. I have met two of very good scholars of this university, Prof. Dr. Mardan and Prof. Dr. Kamal. Thank you for Dr. Nasrum for leading and mediating this today. We are ready now. Okay, guys. This is, can I get this? Thank you very much. You see this title, nobody can cover alone. I cannot cover it alone. You don't expect from anybody to come to talk to you about the world economy and a pre and post pandemic era, because this one needs huge research. Maybe even one college and one university cannot cover it. And that's why what we do as researchers and intellectuals, what we should do actually is to highlight the important things, to make a kind of brainstorming among others. It is not a lecture that I can give today, it is a discussion. I'm opening a discussion area about the important things that might been not discovered by us for any reason. For the second page, please. Okay, these are the questions that we need to answer. We might answer some of them today, but we should keep it in our mind, because some evidence will come later, and then we can discuss about them later to discover. And always remember, guys, our main target is to discover the truth, not to read only about what's happening, to discover among what we are reading the truth. So the questions is, or are, what was the situation of the world on the eve of the pandemic? Second question will be, what happened during the pandemic? Then, who will be described as marginalized? And the fourth, what are the opportunities at the post-pandemic era? And the last will be, are we facing the deglobalization agenda? This is my target today. After I'm going to give you everything about my understanding, I need you to tell me, are we facing deglobalization? Or maybe we will reach to some conclusions during our discussion later. Next, please. On the eve of the pandemic, just before the pandemic. Next page, please. How was the world before the pandemic? Now we are in 2022. It is not very far from 2019, 18, 17. Do we still remember what was happening during that time? Or we just forgot it because the pandemic took the majority of our thinking? Next, please. All the world were talking about 17 targets. And these targets, we did not put it. It was put by the United Nations. It's not we. It's not Iraq. It's not Indonesia. It's not UK. It's not the United States. It's the United Nations. Can we talk about it today? Can we see where we are today? One of the most important targets is no poverty. Do you remember now, just before 2019, what we have done for the poverty all over the world? Do we reach the target? Do we do the right thing to reach the target of the United Nations? I'm not talking about a specific country, by the way. I'm talking about the world. Did the world do the right thing to eradicate the poverty? Let's just think about it. Not necessarily to achieve the answer today, but at least we know. Let's just choose anyone. Climate action. What did we do for the climate? In 2019, I'm talking, in 2019. This 17, all 17 targets, guys, among the health, to the education, to the climate, to the undeveloped countries, least developed countries, huge targets, 17 targets. I can tell you by 2019, we reached 2019 and we did not do anything for that. We did not do big job to reach the targets of the United Nations. Next, please. The world by that time, according to the world numbers and figures, were not doing right economically. Economically was not doing right. All the world. By the way, where is Namibia, guys? Where is Namibia? Any information about Namibia? Is a big country with a small population, with a very big resources, diamonds, gold, whatever kind of resources, you think about it. In Namibia, big country, small population, but a huge poverty. Who is responsible for this? Namibian? Do you think Namibian is responsible that we don't know about Namibia today? It's somebody else. I'm not going to give you or taking you to the conspiracy theory, guys. We are inside the conspiracy theory. We are not trying to understand the conspiracy theory because we are inside the conspiracy theory. We need to know what's happening. So the world here was not doing well since 2010, from 2010 to 2019, just before the pandemic. Go back to old outlook of the United Nations. You will see that the world economy was not doing well. Means when the pandemic hit the world was not doing well. Next, please. Among that, I just give you examples. Later, of course, we can share all the information here. with you guys. Cross-external debts as well as general government gross debts have increased tremendously during the last 5 years before the pandemic occurred. Many countries exceeded 50% increasing rate between 2015 to 2019. What does that mean? Means that most of the countries, I'm not saying all of the world countries, most of the countries were in debts. And they were just debtors to themselves and to the others. Next, please. This is what can give you a general information about the economy in the world. It's from 2015 to 2019, just 5 years before the pandemic. You see, they are always saying that the world is not doing well. I just told you that, right? I've just told you that the world is not doing well, but not me. Is the world economy outlook saying this? Is the United Nations who is telling us that the world economy is not doing well? But when you go to the specific numbers and figures for the countries, you will see something different. What is the difference? You will see that the world in 2015 is doing 2.5 of development rate. 2007. But when you go to the Japan, which is very developed country, is doing only 1.1. But when you go to countries like us, guys, like Indonesia, like Iraq, like anybody in the Middle East, any other country in the Southeast Asia, they are doing good. They are doing better at least. And you can see here, East and South Asia is doing 5.6. The world is not doing well because it is 2.7. But the one who is responsible for that is not us, is the developed countries who are only 2.2. Not, for example, the Southeast Asia, which is 5.7. So always, this is good lesson for everybody. When somebody tells you a general information, you go and check the details. You see the details are different. So we were doing well, guys, as developing countries, and even the least developed countries, we were doing well before the pandemic. You see here, this is the least developed countries. It's 4.2. The least developed countries is doing in economy better than the world average, or better than the developed countries. Okay, next please. Now, we came to the pandemic. We are about to enter the era of the pandemic. Are we prepared well for that? After, for example, 3 to 5 decades of good time that the world live in terms of the health and education services, were we prepared for that day? Next, please. This is my interpretation to the world before the pandemic. Any of you can have his own or her own interpretation to the world. You see what was happening in the world. I'm just getting you some of the things that I have myself registered. The Trump administration and its political pressures on everybody. on the Gulf, for example, Arabian Gulf countries. Then we have Turkey, Greece, Europe tension. This is all before 2019, guys, until 2019. Then we have political issues among the Arab Gulf region, which we still remember the embargo by the Saudi Arabia against Qatar because of some of the Qataris' performances. We have the Korea Peninsula conflict. We have the US-Russia tension that led to the conflict and the war today. We have Iranian nuclear program, which was not settled then until today, of course. We have the Arab Spring, so-called the Arab Spring. We had the issues of the democracy everywhere. We have the Venezuela, Cuba, and Mexico political instability. So we are covering all the world now. We have the Syrian immigrants issue everywhere, especially in Europe. We have the Palestinian issue and the so-called Israeli occupation and aggression. We have also the Myanmar trouble and human rights issues and the massacres against the Muslims. Next, please. If you are going to put in draft all the things were happening in the world, you will come to conclusion, guys, that the world was not stable at all before the pandemic. It's unlike what they were telling us, that we were living in peace before the pandemic. This was not happening, guys. You see here, again, issues of extremism and discrimination in Australia, India, Middle East, United States, Africa, everywhere. You have Libyan civil war. You have political conflict and instability in Iraq after the American invasion until today. We have the China issues with the minority of Uyghur. We have also the Russian and Ukraine conflict today. We have Afghanistan issues. We have Yemen civil war. We have democratic fall to the two country of the world. We would notice the power of mess was controlling the local political operations in more than half of the world. This is what Condoleezza Rice called it the creative chaos in the University of Florida in 1997. She was telling that instead of we have all these regimes led by all these different people with different theoretical backgrounds, we need to bring only one theory to lead the world. What was that? Is the creative chaos. 1997 started with the creative chaos as a theory. In 2003, they invaded Iraq. 2002, before that, they invaded Afghanistan. 3, they invaded Iraq. 2010, the Arab Spring. And all over the world today, there is no place in the world is living in peace because of the creative chaos of Condoleezza Rice. Issues of democracy and changing governments, as well as uprisings, were spreading from country to another in the last decade. For example, Kurdish issue in Iraq, Syria, Iran, and Turkey. Ahwaz case in Iran. Catalonia issue in Spain. Uprising in Syria. Instability in Sudan. Instability in Yemen. Gaza Strip. Somalia conflict. And many, many others. Next, please. Here we come. After all what you heard from me, which it's my wrong, you just go, don't take it for advantage. Go and check. Am I telling you, giving you the right information or no? And come here to decide, were we prepared for the pandemic by 2019? Were we ready and willing to compromise many of our daily habits and norms in order to face the pandemic that suddenly struck us? I tell you just one example. If we were living in a villages, and if we were living in a very simple life where we plant and eat what we are planting, where we are using the things that we are producing. I'm not going to import anything from China or Korea or anything else. I am just using what I am producing. This is the question to you guys. If we were doing this and the pandemic came to us, how was the life? Is it to be very hard like what we have faced, or much easier because we have already everything? We are producing everything. The people, they did not convince us then that please leave what you are producing and take the more cheaper one from China. Leave what you are doing here and take one of the very qualified product from Europe. Then, as a third world country, I came to the pandemic without anything I'm producing. And when I come to China to tell please provide me with the masks, they told us we don't have. We are using the mask for ourselves. And we were asked the medicine to come from London or Italy or whatever. They said, we are sorry, because these medicines to be dedicated to my people. So what about the others, the other of the world? It was left behind. I was in Qatar, guys, when all the people in the world suffering from the pandemic, they don't have enough equipments, they don't have enough hospitals. Hospitals are not qualified. I saw in myself when I was vice chancellor there for 3 years, how was the people bring hospitals by planes to be built in Qatar because they are paying money. Because they have the money. They built in a few days huge hospitals. While we were suffering in everywhere, it's because of money. It's not because of the Qataris are not good, but because they have money. When they give the money to anybody in the world, they send them. The masks were coming not only from China, from 5 sources from the world. While at that time, my family was in Malaysia, they didn't have the mask. I asked them, why you don't have the mask? One of the big factories in the world who's producing the mask based in Malaysia, in Selangor, next to Kuala Lumpur. Why you don't have it? Because it's all been exported to the people who pay. They are not distributing fairly among the others. So this is the issue. We need to think about it. When we have any kind of decision, are we going to this way or to that way? We need to think about, if this thing is happening again, what we are going to do. This is, by the way, part of globalization. Next, please. Okay, these are, I'm not going to go through all of this because we lived that. This is our habits, what we were doing, and we need to change from dining in restaurants to buying online and delivery. All these things we lived together. Next, please. And next, please. Next. Next. Okay, the only thing that I must mention here that changed a bit, and maybe the people in the Zoom now, they listen to us and they understand what we are saying, that before
the pandemic, conference like this is only how many people? 100 to 200 people will see. How many people will come to get the information and knowledge out of this conference? How many? Another 200? But with the pandemic and with the new habit of using the Zoom and the other, of course, sources of online meetings, now we have more people to get benefit of our conferences, knowledge, and all of these things. Now we come to the pandemic itself. Next, please. This is what I call actually the pandemic shock. Lack of information, contradictory information, controversial events, lack of confidence, dominant conspiracy theory, panic buying, supply shortages, price rise. It's okay. So all this, like global stock market fell, borders were blocked, lockdown. Next again, please. All this, guys, where everybody experienced, have led to this impact. Job lost, at least 81 in Asia, 81 million in Asia. Especially the foreign workers. I saw myself how the foreign workers in Malaysia just left the countries, about 3 million. Of course, one of the people who left back coming to Indonesia was the Indonesian. Many of them from Indonesia, from the Arab world, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, from India, they just left and left everything behind and lost the jobs. Business closed. 30% of the shops were closed in the malls of Malaysia. 30%, it's a huge number. Health system collapsed. You tell me, where the health system did not collapse? But the Gulf and some of the very rich countries. Everywhere, the health system were collapsed because we were not prepared. International trade was damaged. Tourism-related sectors, luxury-related industry was affected, like watches, perfumes. That's why I'm saying that everybody was affected in the world. Next, please. And of course, you all remember this. The airline business fell down, the auto trade and industry deteriorated, the e-business buying, selling, marketing, the educational institutions received a biggest economic shock. Only in Malaysia, guys, hundreds of universities and colleges either is closed or it's bankrupted. I'm talking about hundreds. I'm not talking about 10 or 20. Next, please. After the pandemic. Next, please. After the pandemic, we faced few challenges. Some of them, it is going to be a long time before skilled workers and professionals to easily move across the world searching for a job opportunity. It is never going to be easy for broken business owners to get their businesses back to complete in the market. The widespread and psychological frustration because of economic failure led to an increase in the suicide rate in the most affected countries and the large number displaced persons, as well as an increase in the number of people with mental and psychological diseases. I don't have the numbers here in Indonesia, but I can tell you what was happening in Malaysia. The numbers of the suicide attempts increased to 1,600 times percent means percent, 16 times more 2020 than 2019. 2020 compared with 2019, 16 times increasing the suicide attempts in Malaysia. And you can understand what was happening. Everybody knows. I myself, guys, when I came back from Qatar, they put me in jail, in hotel for 14 days. And they said, this is for the sake of your health and the sake of other health. To the hell what you are saying. I am being jailed for nothing. I was okay. I got my vaccination. I got the what we call it, the test. The test was okay. I came to the hotel, the test was okay. Why you are putting me for 14 days? You tell me which one of the countries they did not implement this. I'm sorry to say, idiots. Wrong. You should be careful in doing this because you will have people with mental issue. I am myself, I got it, guys. Putting somebody in a room for 14 days, I listened, I heard myself to the young people coming from Australia, the students came from Australia and they put them in the same rooms like me. They were striking their heads to the walls. They want to go out. It's not easy, guys. When you have something like this, you need to prepare the people like the psychiatrists and everybody to be prepared for that. You just put the people in this kind of environment and then leave them back going home with all dozens of diseases? Cannot. And this is exactly what was happening in the world. It's not only in one country, in the world. So the challenges after that, yes, go please. In 2020, the world was on pause. Little to no emission were produced. Why I'm saying this challenge, it is not good thing. It's challenge because we cannot keep it, we cannot remain it, we cannot make it continuous. Because we stayed at home, guys, this figure is telling us, if you just see with me here, this part, please. You see, the green is going down all the way until we come to 2020. Because we stayed at home, guys, the emission, CO2 emission, increased. How was that? How it was happened? Simply because we are in less using the cars, less using the machines, less going out, less playing with less airplanes to go in the space. So we were better in 2020. But it is a challenge because can we keep it? Can we keep up to bring back to our normal where we are producing? The issue is this, guys. The criteria is this. Are we producing enough for what we are consuming? We are not doing this. And that's why the green is going less and less. Next, please. It becomes clear that the countries of the world were not investing properly in health sector. Everybody knows that now. Countries means governments plus private sectors were not investing properly in the health sector. So this sector was weak when the world was hit by the pandemic. Not far from the assessment is the volume of investment in research and development in the field of medicine and medical supplies. Many workers and employees have lost their jobs, not only because of the direct pandemic impact, but also because of they are not flexible in the change of required by the circumstances of pandemic. And this is one of the issues that the universities should look into. Not anybody else, the universities first. should look into the qualification of the graduates. One of the things that the graduate should have is the flexibility of changing the work, flexibility of changing the what we call it, the ability that he has. He should go straight to find for another job. He should go straight to find for a job can fit for that time for this place. This is we didn't have before. We have very unflexible graduate, where if they are graduate for business, they can only do for small business matters. We lost of two important things. People thinking out of the box, we didn't have it by the time of 2019. And entrepreneurs, we didn't have them in 2019. That's why the people who are employed by others, who are working for the others, they can't do much. They can't change. And that's why we had in trouble. Yes, please. Overcoming the damage. Training, this is what I was talking about universities now. Training is the thing that the employers regretted for not presenting to their employees to cope with the difficult circumstances. That's why this pandemic has provided a high-level service to governments and private companies about what can be provided to employees with the training and rehabilitation program. Who other than the universities can do that? It's the best place who can do the rehabilitation of the workers. We should have opening in all our universities, guys. We should have open a center for rehabilitation for the employees. Because the employee himself, if he doesn't have the ability to change, he cannot change. So we bring him to the rehabilitation center and we change his experience, we change his skills, and we send him back to the market. Yes, please. What are the opportunities? One of the most important opportunities for the physically disabled is that because of the full unurbanized and the total movement of work from offices to homes, equal opportunities to perform with the physically safe and thus facilitated the emergence of all their energies and possibilities in working. Before, when we were asking why you are not accepting this disabled people in your business, he will immediately telling you, I'm very sorry, my emotion is with him, of course. But unfortunately, he can't come to the office. He can't make physically the working that I'm asking him to do. The pandemic gave those people the same opportunities to take the same works that we are doing. So these kind of things, we need to keep it, guys. We should not leave them back because they are now in the business. We should keep them with us. Don't leave them back. Next, please. The pandemic, second opportunity. The pandemic provided an opportunity for the citizens to occupy the jobs that were reserved for foreigners for reasons related to the work psychology of society, which makes it difficult for citizens to do it. These works have expanded and developed, and their wages have increased enormously. But the work psychology has continued to prevent the local workers from working even if they wanted. And I have faced it in Malaysia, guys. When they have just asked, or the employees, the foreigners, the foreign manpower, they left the country for the reason of the pandemic. We had lack of of jobs. So many jobs, but nobody can do anything because the Malaysians, they don't do specific kind of works. They leave it to the foreign workers. With the continuing of the pandemic and the increasing of the need of the people to the salaries, many Malaysians came to go into these kind of works. And we saw that Malaysians can do it. Why they did not do it from the beginning? For important reason, which is society psychology. So society psychology cannot be changed by the person himself, individually. It should be changed by the universities, by the centers, the rehabilitation center, by the parties, by a new mentality to be imposed on some of the universities, and etc. Yes, please. For entrepreneurship, the pandemic has changed the way man used to work. Most of the people, especially the professionals, started to leave traditional methods to unconventional patterns. And many of those who have been put in a box for a long time, they got out of the box by adopting a new way of thinking. And that's why we see that because of the pandemic, we have now more entrepreneurs, more people are thinking out of the box. Our challenge will be what we are going to do to keep this number, or at least to keep this number, or to increase it. Because the countries will not be developed well if they don't have enough people of entrepreneurs, of the people that can do the work from the scratch to be millionaires. If we don't have good number of these people, I assure you guys, we will never be a developed country. So now we had, in our countries, in the developed countries, we have the opportunity because the pandemic taught us how to do this kind of works. Some of us now are thinking independently, not like before. Before we are graduating, I'm talking about myself in 1988, I did not do anything when I graduated from the university. I went to sit in my family house to wait for the government to appoint me or assign me for any job. And exactly happened. After 3 months, they asked me, please come, this is your place. I did not think about anything, which is wrong. Of course, it's good when you think about the stability of the salary, but it's wrong when you are talking about the country. You will never be somebody one day. You are waiting for the decisions to come from up to down. You are not doing the decisions from down to up. Go ahead, please. We cannot be people like this if we don't think independently, guys. Of course, everybody knows them, right? Right, guys? Do you know them? You don't know of Alibaba? You don't know anything about Microsoft? Now you know, okay. So the pandemic has provided a great evidence of the entrepreneurship capability of doing through major crisis. A lot of businesses continued because the entrepreneurs were able to well digest the circumstances of the pandemic and then planned for appropriate measures at the right time. On the other hand, many pioneers saw a lot of opportunities deep in the crisis and invest in these opportunities to become millionaires. Next, please. Despite the pain in our hearts due to the closure of many factories, workshops, and businesses, we should know that many of these industries failed because they were not agile due to their old methods of working. On the other hand, these closures have given the opportunity for a new, modern, and agile business to rise. So yes, our hearts with the people who lost their factories and their businesses that they have doing since long time. But again, it is partly their fault because they were not agile. They come with the weight, and you can understand what agile. If you have weight like me, can you run fastly? Cannot. If I'm going to run with you guys, you will be reaching like 100 meters in 1 minute, and I'm going to reach there in 2 hours. This is the old businesses. Old businesses is this. They cannot run. They cannot do changes. They stick to their places, and that's why they failed and they closed, which is an opportunity for a new businesses, which is agile and qualified to be opened. Next, please. Next. Okay. Now the question is, after this, and we want to answer the question while I am sitting there, but you think about it. Are we facing the globalization era? They were telling us since 4 decades, guys, that globalization is good for everybody. Am I right in this? They said this, right? Now, according to what you have listened here, according to the conflicts in the world, see with deep scene to what's happening between China and the United States, between Europe and Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, between Russia and United States, between this area, this region and China, this region and the West. Check, do you see that the globalization still valid? Or the people is doing something to de-globalize the world again, after it was globalized since 4 decades. Thank you very much.
Okay, we give big applause to Prof. Mahmoud Khalid with his very insightful, amazing, and inspiring presentation. Okay. All right. We do hope the participants raise some questions, and for the online participants, you might write your question in our chat room. Okay. Yeah. One thing that very interesting during the presentation about creative chaos. So yeah, creative chaos that influence the local development, including the Arab Springs, the civil war in Yemen, yeah, and maybe in Indonesia we have it also, yeah, yeah. Later it will be answered by Prof. Mahmoud. All right, for the offline questions, please raise your questions, and you could ask by using Bahasa, but much better by using English. Okay, for the first question come from Mr. Subhan Halik, and then we need three questions first for the first session, okay, and the second from the man on my left, on my left side, and the third one. How about in online participants? Okay, one more question for this first session. For the students, you might ask by using bahasa. Bisa pakai bahasa Indonesia, nanti diterjemahkan. Ya? Okay, for the first, I'm giving to Bapak Subhan Halik. Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right. Maybe I can ask you in English. In your opinion, a pandemic is a mercy or what? Or disaster? In your opinion, so we can. You can explain to us, in your opinion, what is your opinion about the pandemic? Yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Pak Subhan Halik. And the second, yeah, okay, Abdullah, yeah, okay, Mr. Abdullah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
My question is about the environment. You said there was an increase in oxygen during the pandemic. How does me as a civilian who lives in Iraq be involved, not taking my car, only have to take the bus, use the bicycle, increase in leaving more oxygen to the people when I'm not the owner of the factory, the man from Sweden who have a factory in China that's producing all the CO2. I'm just a civilian that consume my level of oxygen. Why should I pay the tax of the people, the rich people, or the government that are using all the oxygen during their factories? Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mr. Abdullah. And the second question comes from the offline participants. It comes from Andip Fausia Astrid. The question is, the globalization, of course, will result the consequence, yeah. And then the question, do the conflict and the war could become the part of the consequences, yeah? Are the war and the conflicts the part of the consequences itself? Yeah, okay. That's the questions. All right. Please, Prof. Mahmud, please answer the three questions.
Okay, thank you, Brother Masrul. First, we come to the mercy or disaster. See, brother, I'm a Muslim. I cannot go out from my faith. Always we see the disease, that it is something which is disastrous thing, that we make dua that Allah lift that disease from us. But at the same time, exactly at the same time, we do believe that it is this disease comes because of rahmatullah. It's a rahmah from Rabbil Alameen, it's a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give it to us for so many reasons. First of things, to get out of our bad things from our body, from our thinking, to go back to our God, and to make tawbah for the things that we have done wrongly. All these things are rahmah. Without it, we will never think about the good things. We will continue doing the bad things. That's why we always see the disasters when it comes. I myself, as economist, I see every disaster issues as an opportunity for something. So I'm always looking in bad things, in disastrous things, that I'm looking for the opportunities. If we will be like the people who are crying only when they face bad things, they will never be good. They will never psychologically get back to their normal. So we need to think of what happened in the pandemic very logically, and we need to think about what are
the opportunities we can get from this bad things happen to all of the world. One of the good things that I always believe that it is a good time now to rethink about the things that we thought it is given, but it was not given. It is something that we heard about it, or we learned about it, or we got it in the schools, or we got it in the universities, or we got it in our parties, but we didn't judge it. We didn't judge them. So disasters comes for you to rethink about what you have believed in. And that's why always I see that there is some opportunities, brother. CO2 is very good question. Unfortunately, we are responsible, brother. We are responsible. As individuals, we are responsible. Although the United States, which didn't want to sign in the Kyoto Convention, and China are the most problematic countries in terms of the CO2 creation. But at the end of the day, we left it as all of the other countries, because the biggest two countries are not doing the right thing. We also not doing the right things, which is not good. What I did not tell here, and I wanted to tell you guys all because of this question, as economist and politician, because I am both economist and politician, I know myself, maybe this is not very, let's say, real conclusion, but this is to me that when I think about what is happening between Ukraine and Russia, I saw that the targeted country is neither Ukraine nor Russia. It's Germany. Germany is the targeted. Germany is leading Europe with a huge surplus. Okay? Within 10 years to come, it will be the first power, definitely. Why the first? Why not China? Because the Western, they are always think about the first superpower from the West, not from the other regions. So who's left? If the United States happened to it anything, and I can tell you, if anything happened to the dollar, you will not see or hear about the United States a lot in the media. Once the dollar is collapsed, you will not hear a lot about it, because the dollar is representing the superpower today. It's not the military. It's not anything of the economy. It's only the US dollar, guys. This one can be, we can talk about this for so many hours. So that's why, if they did not do well, we should do well. The Germany was doing a fantastic job in reaching CO2 zero in 2030. What's happening in Ukraine is preventing Germany from doing this. And that's why Germany is going back to charcoal today. Because they closed the Russian gas. When they closed the Russian gas and gasolines, they restarted to doing the old methods of creating energy, which is among them is the charcoal, which is again, it will be damaging the environment. But again, if we are in Iraq or anywhere else, at least from our piece of land, small land that we have there, we should not create that CO2, at least for ourselves. The America and China is doing bad and doing wrong things. We should not do it because they are doing. That's all. But yes, China and the United States, they are responsible for the 90% of what's happening to the environment today. And that's why you see them are very hypocrite in signing the agreements and calling for the conferences. You don't see them there, simply because they cannot face the people. They cannot face the experts. Thank you very much for that.
Okay. All right, and the third question from Ibu Andi Fausia, are the war and the conflicts the part of the consequence itself? Yeah.
Okay, if we are talking about the war in Russia and Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine, this war, we all know actually, all politicians know that this is by proxy war. This is not real war. The real war is between the United States and China. And the United States wants to cut the hands of China. One of the big hands in Europe is Russia. China can use anytime Russia to attack Europe economically and attack the United States economically. You see, in geography, you can see something very unnormal issue, which is the United States is far from all the world except Russia. They are meeting in northern part of the United States. Only few kilometers between Russia and the United States. So the big enemy might appear any day for the United States is Russia. And that's why what we see, that America wanted to attack the China through Ukraine to Russia. Now people are saying that Russia started this because Russia was trying to get some of the Ukraine lands. That was because Ukraine and some other countries are threatening the economic and political zone, which we call it economic, political, vital zone of the Russian, by asking to join the NATO. If Ukraine will join the NATO, means the NATO will be at the heart of Russia, because Russia is thinking about the economic and political zone. Is not talking only about Moscow. So they have done this purposely to bring Russia into a war with Ukraine, to cut the China hand in Europe. This is what's happening. So that's why I believe that this will bring all again back to deglobalization era, where all the things coming from China will be stopped in the sea and not reaching Europe and not reaching the United States. And many countries who allied with the United States and Europe will do the same. And they are going to fight China with a trade war again. And when you are fighting, when you are bringing the trade war again, and started by Trump, of course, that means there is no globalization. Globalization simply means that the product is free to go from somewhere to somewhere. When you are putting now obstacles and restrictions against this product, means there is no globalization. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's the answer for the third questions. Yeah. And yeah, I open one session again for 3 questions. especially for the students. Please ask question. Raise your question, please. You might speak bahasa. Silakan bertanya, mahasiswa. Ini sangat menarik ya mengenai ekonomi dunia dan politik. Bagaimana Rusia menyerang Ukraina yang sebenarnya untuk menyerang Jerman ya. Dan ya bisa saja terjadi perang dunia ketiga ya. Ya, oke. Ada pertanyaan? Silakan bertanya. Okay, there is a question from Ihsan, from Ihsan Jaya. The question is, sir, what do you think about the implementation of the concept of agile in the context of the post-pandemic social role of religion? Yeah, the question is, what do you think about the implementation of the concept of agile in the context of the post-pandemic social role of religion? Yeah, just now that you explained about agile company, yeah, or agile business. So only agile business that could survive nowadays. So if it is stuck or just stay on the track, so they couldn't survive. So the question, there is a question about agile, but here agile in the context of post-pandemic social role of religion. Yeah, you get the
I
point?
didn't get the social role of religion, actually. I'm not, expert in this anyway.
Yeah.
In religion and religious studies, but I do believe in one thing, that being agile is just like a man, just like the man. When the agile, he still should have the hand. For being active, should have the hand and eyes and legs and all his parts to be there, but it should be agile. Means he can work freely, he can go and come. In terms of social, that was, I'm trying to interpret the things that he's saying. Even in the religion, after 100 of years, after 600 of years, 1,000 years, we will be seeing ourselves are more doing the things it's not really part of the religion. For being agile, that get rid of these things to make me more free to understand the religion, understand the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is fine. This is good. Understanding the other religion, this is very good. People living together, this is also very good. But with very important thing that we should not let go our principles, our real principles that represent the religion, which is in our religion in Islam, we call it al-aqidah. We should not let go with the al-aqidah, but other than this, of course, we are open. The Muslims are open to discuss everything, but not in aqidah, because this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Another question. Yeah, another question coming from Firman. When we talk about economy, the Western countries lead this economy. They control most of the things on the globe. Meanwhile, Islamic countries, we struggle from time to time to reach such a strong economy. The question, should Islamic countries working together to form strong economy as what Europeans do? Or we collaborate with them wisely? Or do you have any suggestion, Prof? Yeah, the questions from Firman. Should Islamic countries working together to form strong economy as what Europeans do? Okay, sir.
Of course, this is this is the hope of all Muslims, actually, to see one ummah with one economy. But the issue is that we are not united. The issue that some of them are pro China and pro, let's communists. Some of them are pro the United States and we had in Iraq actually a good example. When the Iraq was invaded by the United States, guys, of course everybody was fighting the United States because it's an occupier troops. But those who had put more damage on Iraqis were not the Americans themselves, but the Iranians, our neighbors, who are the Muslims like us. So these things, guys, we need to stop it. As Muslim countries, we should not participate in anything would damage our countries, because at the end of the day, that will have a lot of consequences. At the end of the day, we will never be together. So the thing that sitting together, discussing together before the economy, we need to understand each other, and then we form something which is among it's acceptable among all others. We established in the 60s and the late 50s the Islamic conference, what we call it, the Islamic countries conference, which is now in Jeddah. Since then, in Jeddah until today, you tell me in Indonesia or Malaysia, or what did you get out of this years from the Islamic conference? There's nothing actually. Not because of somebody himself, because we are not united. I represented Iraq for 3 times in that Islamic conference. People in the conference countries, they were taking their orders from the ambassadors of the Western countries in that country. And these orders comes in a piece of paper. Go and tell this. Put your hand against that. And I saw that myself. So the people, we are not free countries, not really free countries. Let's work together to be free countries, to get our own agenda for the Muslims. Who else can do it than Indonesia? It's the biggest Muslim countries in the world. It has the all opportunities and all capabilities to lead the world, the Islamic world countries. We do believe that. But it's not being given this chance also by our brothers, the Muslims, somewhere else. So yes, I do believe, and this is our hope. But for doing this, we need universities to do the work, research centers to do the work, governments, parties to do all this work. All this work come together to bring the Muslims together. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's the answer for Firman. So we still keep working together as long as those things are good things. All right. Another question, sir. This is from Eka Damayanti. The question is, actually, the beginning of pandemic, we got shocked because we have a different culture in activities. We do anything by online. And after pandemic, we go back to our behavior like before pandemic. We must do everything by offline. So we got shocked again. And the question is, what should we do in facing the changes like this?
Okay, to me, not everything that we have learned from pandemic is wrong. And usually when you stuck in a big problem, actually, you will learn new things to get out from this pandemic problem. Some from the pandemic, like what we have, like delivery, outline, buying outline is good, actually. I do believe it's good. And give the opportunity for those who doesn't have huge money to compete. Because, for example, in Malaysia, we have the biggest mall in Kuala Lumpur, Pavilion. pavilion, if you don't have hundreds of thousands of ringgit, you cannot open a shop there. So that's why the people, when they go buy from there, nobody can compete them. But when we get into a new experience of buying online, I can buy anything that I like from somebody else who's not in pavilion. And that's why now people can compete. More people in business now, and entrepreneurs more now. So I don't believe that these kind of things, we need to get rid of them. I can tell you one thing from my experience. I'm a chairman of Al Noor International School in Malaysia. It's a series of schools. We call it Al Noor International Schools. When we came to the pandemic, it was very hard for the school to cope with the online system. We took about 1 month to make everything easy and smooth for the students, management, as well as the teachers to cope with the new system. Now we have post-pandemic era. People told me to agree to stop the online system. I said no. We will be going into the two systems together. Because people, when they want, for example, to go for a picnic or travel to see their parents to anywhere else, they can still continue with us. People, when they get sick and they cannot come to the school, they still can continue with us. So that the thing that we learned from pandemic, we should not leave it, and I did not leave it. And that's why I decided for a hybrid system that contains both together, physical as well as the online. But of course, we need to put the regulations, the standards of procedures, the SOPs, to handle these things properly. So I don't believe that these are the bad things to leave, but of course, some other bad things we need to leave. But these things, I believe it is one of the fruit of that we got it from the pandemic.
Okay. Yeah, so it is the various choices, yeah, while offline and online. So this is not the threat, but we could make it as an opportunity. Yeah, okay. All right. Actually, we still have two questions here, sir. Yeah? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. All right. The question from Hikmawati. Pandemic really changes the way home people deal with life. Everything is technologically operated as seen in your slide. The countries that have capability in technology will lead the world. At the same, poor countries is getting lost. So, do you have some comment, sir? This is the question from Hikmawati.
Okay, this comment everywhere and every time. When you have a struggle, you must know that the developed countries will try to get the benefit of that and will leave all the bad things to the least developed countries or developing countries. But that should not be the way to think. Maybe they think like this. They won't implement it like this. But we should not think like them. We should not think like, okay, now we are get out from the pandemic. We are in a very bad situation. We have less benefit. The other countries get benefit. You should create the benefit. That's why we are talking about the new mentalities. Think out of the box, guys. Do the right thing. I'm always giving this to my PhD and master students. See what Rwanda did. Have you heard about Rwanda, guys? No? Okay, Rwanda and Burundi is two countries, border countries in Western Africa. They fought because both countries, they have the same major tribes, Hutu and Tutsi. The tribes there, Hutu and Tutsi. In Rwanda, and Burundi. Accident happened in Burundi that some of the Hutu killed some of the Tutsi. That one continued for 1 month until it reached Rwanda. The Rwandan people also killed each other, Hutu and Tutsi. It's continued for 8 months. Tens of millions killed, guys, and nobody interfered. The world was looking to them and to see what's happening without interfering. It ends, and we come back to the normal life. Burundi stayed as it is. Hutu and Tutsi, from time to time, killing each other, problematics, issues with economies, whatever. Rwanda wanted to be different. They had good parliament. They had good president. They had good program. They had good economy. They had good health. They started again. And Rwanda is leading among the African countries. If you see, I can't recall the name of the capital. It's not very easy. You know, African names not easy. The Rwandan capital is one of the most beautiful capitals in the world nowadays. After 25 years of the massacres happened then. So those countries, those kind of people should be our example. Not the failure countries should be our example. And this country is third world, least developed, and then third world countries. But now you see them. I saw the president in one of the events in Qatar. I went to see him, and I told him, President, I am very proud of you. As somebody who's from third world countries, I'm very proud of you. Those people need to be the example, not anybody else. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this is the last question, sir. And the question is about the Iran position. Yeah, Iran position. Yeah, the question like this. We have talked about the world economic crisis due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but this outbreak purely due to disease, or was there political economic constellation behind it? So the pandemic is a political constellation or the disease? And then the question again here, so while it is understood that not all countries are involved, for example Iran, then what was Iran's position when the war broke out between Russia and Ukraine, while we all understood that the Eastern states were experiencing an economic crisis, for example, what experienced in Indonesia? So the war between Russia and Ukraine and the correlation with Iran. So what
Now
is the
this is politics. This is purely politics, actually.
Yeah.
You see, at the end of the day, there are two blocks in the world, very obvious blocks. Since the Soviet Union and the Western bloc and the Cold War until today, we have the bloc of China and the countries who are depending on China or helping China in their expanding in economy over the world. And there is another bloc, which is the traditional bloc that we know about, which is the Western bloc led by the United States. The problem of Iran here, Iran and the Gulf and the Arabian Gulf, okay, represent the heart, this is very important, the heart of the Chinese program, of the Chinese thinking, what they call it, the طريق الحرير, the Silk Road. Thank you very much. what they call it the Silk Road. Okay? Iran is the hub plus the Arabian Gulf. Now the Arabian Gulf, actually, they have very good ties and links with the United States. So China, they have only Iran. So China played on the issue between Iran and the West about the nuclear and the other things. China also played on the Iranian hope of getting all the Arab countries just next to its border, starting from Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. They have this colonialism thinking from the beginning as a Persian empire before. So they played on this and they got Iran on the side of China. Although Iran is a theoretical, what you call it? Theocratical country, which is based on Islam and a special madhab of Islam, which is Shia, whatever. While the communists, they don't believe in gods. While those communists are doing bad for the Uyghurs. So for me, I can understand Iran if they stop against China because of Uyghur. But what happened? Iran stood beside China. Of course, the United States now, they want to take Iran out of this equation. So that's why they are playing with Iran about the nuclear agreement again. But to me, what I can see, that the regime of Iran now, the regime itself of Ayatollah, will not last long, because the people of Iran is rejecting the way that this Ayatollah, how they lead the country. So I believe that Iran will be changed. When Iran will be changed as a regime, as a political system, we will see that the whole area from the Gulf, Saudi Arabia to the Jordan and Syria, Iraq and Egypt will be stable. That's what I believe, actually. Now, what is this related to the pandemic? I'm still thinking about inside the conspiracy theory, saying that the way that the pandemic started did not show that it was just a disease or just a flu and spread by the people. It's something else.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's very comprehensive answers from Prof. Mahmoud. Yeah, including his understanding is so deep about politics. Yeah. All right. Prof, probably you still have a closing speech for our conference today. Maybe 1 until 2 minutes about the closing speech.
Okay, before I thank everybody here, I want to tell that it is part of my hope and target in my life to see all Muslim countries. And of course, when we are talking about Indonesia, which is the biggest Muslim countries, I can take with me, guys, a big message, an important message when I go back, not only to Malaysia, but to all my Arab countries, to tell them the truth of what I have seen in this country, that unfortunately we did not know a lot about it. And this is because of the media, definitely, media of our countries. I thank you guys, everybody, and I want to tell you something, that because we are talking about the pandemic today, take the pandemic with all what we were suffering, take it as an opportunity, and work independently, and think independently. Think out of the box. And always I was telling my kids, Al-Mustafa, Antaha, and Farah. I have 3, 2 boys and 1 girl. I always telling them that please always think about how to give salaries, not how to take salaries. Be like this as a graduate from a university. Think about how to give the other salaries. Start your business and give the other salaries. Don't think about getting salaries from the others. Only this way we can do different, not in only Indonesia and all Muslim countries, and we will be seeing Indonesia, as we saw Indonesia the other last 2 weeks, as one of the big 20, the G20, everybody was here in Bali. We can see Indonesia as a big of the five of the world, inshallah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Prof. Mardan. Thank you for our moderator here, and thank you,
Okay.
Prof. Sabbar, for what you have to me. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, my conclusion, there are three specific conclusions for the presentation today. The first is be entrepreneur. The second is thinking out box. And the third is make the post-pandemic era as an opportunity. All right, that's all for our agenda for today. Thank you so much. Nasrun minallah wa fathun karib. Ya basiril mu'minin. I'm signing out. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, we give big applause again for Prof. Mahmud Khalid. Yeah.
Di bawah, Pak.
Okay, the next agenda is signing memorandum of outstanding between Universitas Islam Negeri Alauddin Makassar with Bapak Profesor Dr. Mahmud Khalid Al-Musafir as the owner of International School Al-Nur in Kuala Lumpur. Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right, and we give the souvenir. Yeah, hopefully with by signing the MOU, Universitas Islam Negeri Alauddin Makassar could have close relationship with Al Nur International School Kuala Lumpur, and we do hope that we are going to have more cooperation and more agenda and events after this.
Masuk ke sini. Ya Allah. Jempol. Ayo. Kenapa? 3, lagi 1, 2. عبد الله سجد له صحة تكريتي اللي العين ما خرج